Welcome to the Little Wins Podcast, where school leaders share their little wins that build strong culture, with your host, Karen Borchert. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Little Wins Podcast, the podcast for school leaders building strong school culture, one little win at a time. Today's guest is Sarah Harless, the principal of Bear Lake School in Michigan, a small K-12 school all housed in one building, nestled in a town near Lake Michigan. Sarah has been at Bear Lake for 24 years and has worn nearly every hat in the building, from Title I aide to classroom teacher to school administrator. What really stands out in Sarah's story is the way her team leads with mutual respect and shared purpose, and how in a small school culture isn't a side project. It's part of how I'll try that last part. This is a good time to tell you that if anything messes up, you can just stop and try that again. Okay, old soul, we're going to try one bit again. What really stands out in Sarah's story is the way her team leads with mutual respect and shared purpose, and how in a small school, culture isn't a side project. It's part of how the school runs every single day. Welcome to the show, Sarah.
Good morning.
Good morning. Nice to see you. Well, let's start us off. Take us through the halls. How would you describe Bear Lake School to somebody who's never been there?
Well, I would describe it as the small school that really has it all. I actually asked someone else that one time, and they said, when they came in, they were shocked because they had never been to Bear Lake before, for the size of school that we are and the number of students that we have. They were just so surprised to see the facility, the beautiful facility that we have, and the programming and things that we're able to offer our students. And, I would hope that anyone coming into our building would just feel that overwhelming sense of feeling welcomed. By anyone, big or little. And if they look lost, no matter the age, a student or an adult would ask them if they needed help and would get them to the right place. So
that's awesome.
I think anyone coming into our building would be wowed by what we have and are able to accomplish here.
I love that. Tell us a little bit about how you've made that happen. So you've mentioned this sort of welcoming atmosphere that definitely kind of takes the whole village at school to make a school feel that way. How do you encourage that as a leader?
Well, it certainly starts outside of our school. It starts with our community. To be able to thrive in a small school in a small community, you have to have your community behind you and your community support. We have to be able to, pass bonds and all these other things to be able to offer the facility and the program that we have for our students. So it starts there. So once we have that community backing, which we have in tenfold, then we're able to bring that, within our building. We're so fortunate. I'm fortunate as a leader because we don't have a lot of turnover on our staff.
Yeah.
And that in itself, really allows you to start building things, building programs, creating culture, creating consistency for adults and students, and really building on the consistency and the culture that you're creating. And not having to start over all the time because there's always new people entering the fold.
Right.
So, when I came into the principalship, I was one of the youngest people on staff. That was kind of a scary thing as well.
Yeah. What was that like?
Well, I had already worked here for a number of years, but still knowing that as I was going to move through my principalship, people would slowly begin to retire. I knew slowly my people would start leaving me. And that thought alone, and that's starting to happen now. The last couple of years, that's starting to happen. But that thought alone was kind of scary. But the nice thing is we've consistently built a capacity for what we want our school to be, how we want it to feel, what we want it to look like, that as we bring someone new into the fold, it's kind of as if this is how it's always been, and this is what the expectation is. And we just, because we're all doing it, then the new person, the new teacher, the new staff member, whatever they are, that's the modeling that they see. There's nothing else for them to see. That's what we're all doing.
It's consistent. Yeah. Highly aligned, high trust. That's so exciting. That's so great to see. Well, come back to your leadership path a little bit. One of the things I love, is that you didn't kind of come into this work just by, a specific, straight line, into leadership. Tell us a little bit about how you kind of stepped into whatever role was needed and about your path a little bit.
Sure. So, I got out of school in the in 2000, taught in Ann Arbor for a year before my husband and I moved back to Manistee, which is close to Bear Lake, our hometown. And by the time we decided we were going to stay, it was kind of late to apply for teaching positions. Plus, that was at the time where there wasn't a lot of teaching positions available. So Bear Lake School had a Title I aide position available. And I thought, well, I'll apply for that. Like, I just wanted to work with students, work in a school, be around kids. And so I applied for the Title I position, got that position. Within probably a month and a half into the school year, they decided that the third grade was too big. They were going to split the third grade. So I applied to be the third grade teacher, got that position. So then I started teaching. At the end of the year, I was laid off, and I didn't know what I was going to be doing going into that next fall. I happened to be on a trip, got a call from our superintendent, and he told me he had the opportunity of a lifetime for me. And I thought, oh boy, what could this be?
Yeah.
And so he wanted me to teach part-time and do some administrative things part-time, just different things, special ed, Title I, kind of oversee some different programming. So at that time, there was a new principal coming into the mix. He was a teacher here, but moving into the principalship, he was going back to school to get his master's degree in school principalship and administration. And he said, let's do this together. I was like, okay, fine, whatever. I was young, had just gotten married, sounded good.
Yeah.
So I had done that, finished my school.
Plus, he telling it with the, kind of job of a lifetime. Like that's
right. It kind of wasn't, it was kind of like all these different things, but I was happy. I was doing what I wanted to be doing. I was helping make a difference. I was surrounded by, again, a great staff who we were committed to like trying new and different things for this small school. And it was fun. It was where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
So I finished.
Do you remember those things that you tried in your first kind of year with that staff that, you guys were kind of trying out and seeing if it worked?
Well, I can remember a lot of different things that we did, and we did it for a while. And then after a while, like those things phased out. For a while we did, where we had, like not student of the year, but, like our character students. So at the end of the year, if students had like all A's and didn't have any, discipline issues and all that, then we had a big assembly for them and they got a medal at the end of the year. So like we kind of did all these, just different little programs along the way, but those things run their course too. So then you have to come up with kind of new and enticing things. And part of that is a sign of the times with as the years change and kids change, things have changed so much in my time in education as well. So and some of those people that I did some of those different things with, they're still here today, and we talk about it. We're like, remember when we did this or we did that, so it's fun to look back at that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I finished my school principalship, and I was still just kind of teaching whatever they needed me to teach. I was filling in. I was doing 6th grade English, 7th grade English, 4th grade English, wherever they needed me to kind of pop in. Because again, we're a small school, so the scheduling kind of is tricky sometimes. And then in the meantime, I had my first son, Bryce, and then also had twins.
Oh my gosh.
So life got busy, and the principal's position became open in that time but I knew it wasn't the right time for my husband and I. Like the twins
Uh-huh.
were little, like we couldn't manage all that. The principal's position became open again when our twins were entering kindergarten. And
Oh,
so, and we were immersed in Bear Lake. Like we were
right.
our oldest son went to school here. The twins went to preschool here. It was like, this was my school. I knew this was where we wanted to be and we wanted to stay. And so, I applied for that position. And then this is how I ultimately landed where I am now.
That's great. You mentioned kind of everything from pre-K on up. You are building culture across a K-12 school, small K-12 school, right? Tell us a little bit about how you approach that culture building when you're leading both elementary and secondary students. What does that look like for you?
Well, here's the thing. Kids are kids no matter what age.
Yeah.
You're just kind of dealing with them at a different level. And so that's kind of how I approach it with my staff as well. I'm always like, remember, whether they're 5 or they're 17, they're still a kid, right?
Yep.
We can't look at them even at 17 as an adult because they're not an adult. They haven't
Not.
had that experience yet. I mean, they might even not have had an experience that a 5-year-old has had. We don't know.
Yeah.
Every kid is different. So I always approach my staff as one.
Yeah.
We have PD together. We do all of our PD together, which is really good because it lets our high school staff and our elementary staff have time to collaborate together and kind of talk about what's happening at each level.
Yeah.
Not only academically, but just like, yeah, this is what happened down in kindergarten last week. You would,
Right. Right.
and it kind of gives our high school staff like that mindset of, oh yeah, well,
That's
you
right.
should see what happened in the high school. Like they have
Yeah.
comparing stories. Again, it's just kind of at a little bit different level, but it's really comparable.
Yeah.
But the other thing is it's important for them to know what's happening at each level because our second and third grade teachers need to know what's happening at sixth grade because they need to know kind of where they need to get kids to be. If they're
Yeah.
all teaching with their door closed in a vacuum,
Yep.
we'll never get to what our goals are and getting growth for our students and moving our kids forward, And the
Yeah.
other thing is I try to be present wherever I'm needed, obviously the most, but
Yeah.
also all over the building.
Yeah.
Being a leader, it's being service to others. It's not just sitting somewhere on your throne and saying, I'm here I am, it's being service to others. So I'm willing to step up at any level at any time, so
Yeah.
if someone needs me, I'm there. Whether it's I need to sub in 10th grade English or I need to go down to first grade for something, I can be flexible and I can be wherever I'm needed. And so I think for my staff, just having that leading by that example is really
Yep.
powerful to them because while they can't necessarily leave their classroom in the day, like I can leave my office to go be somewhere if someone needs me.
Right.
They can certainly support each other, whether it's through email or text message or, hey, a group text goes out and is like, I'm out of glue sticks. Does anyone have one? And you see 6 kids walking up the hall with a package of glue sticks to a classroom.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
That's the kind of support that they can give each other throughout the day as well. And we all know we have each other for those kinds of goofy little things, but we're there for one another.
That makes a difference when you need something like that and your staff, you're kind of helping each other out. And I think kids also notice that, right? Then they I imagine it's kind of fun, like if they get to go, take something up to the, 8th grade classroom or, you take, something like that is probably kind of fun, kind of builds that community for the students as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's neat to see over time as the littles get a little bit older,
Mhm.
They don't have to ask like where one of the high school teachers' classrooms are because they know where that
They
is.
know,
They
yeah.
really think that's
Oh.
cool that they know where they're going.
Well, I imagine that makes such a I'm thinking about, my own kids who are starting middle school and high school this year, and that's a big transition, and it's kind of there's a lot of unknowns in that. So the idea that, the high school, teachers' classrooms, even when you're in the fourth grade is actually quite nice, really.
Yeah.
Uh, that's really cool. That's great. Well, I love how you talk about sort of vertical planning across grade levels and things like that. What are some other things that you do? Around kind of really building up your team and helping your team help each other. I love, when you're a principal and you have 30, 40, 50 plus direct report kind of folks that are reporting to you, then creating a support system where educators can help each other and build that school culture together is so important. How do you see your team kind of building culture and supporting one another? Besides glue sticks, I love that one. But what are the other things that you guys do as a team to help build that?
Well, I think we have a lot of mutual respect for each other and trust with one another.
Yeah.
We're we're not afraid to share our ideas. We're also not afraid to share our failures.
Okay.
And I think that's really important, is not only to, share our wins, but also share
Yeah.
our failures. And those can be small failures, like something little that's happened in the classroom that day, but they can also be big failures, right?
Mm.
But even just sharing those small failures with, let's say it's a hallway conversation with some teachers. Um,
Yeah.
that gives that other teacher some feedback amongst their colleagues that they trust, to say,
Yeah.
well, maybe it was just this, or did you try this? Or, oh yeah, that was probably just all bad altogether. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just need the
Yeah.
reassurance that like, hey, you didn't do anything wrong, or there wasn't anything you could have done different. It was just probably not a great idea from the beginning. And that's okay too.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so I think just by, um, allowing time for them to really be able to kind of talk with one another and acknowledge, you know, what they do on a daily basis. Because if you think about it, a teacher is really on like all the time. Like
Yeah.
there's not really a lot of downtime. Like even when they're eating lunch, they're thinking about like what's coming next after lunch and what do I have to do? And oh yeah, don't forget this. So they're like really on all the time. So being able to have colleagues that you can really trust,
Yeah.
that are not, out to steal your lesson or out to
Mm.
outshine you, but really out to celebrate with you,
Yeah.
is really super important. And I think, for us, we kind of had a setback in 2017 that really kind of changed how we approach things and how our culture kind of really changed here at Bear Lake. Um,
Okay.
we were our test scores were not great. So,
Yeah.
every school is kind of judged on their state test scores, and our test scores weren't great. So we were put on the priority school list by the state of Michigan. And
Okay.
so here's the thing. Students take a test in a day, and that's how we're judged. Some
Yeah.
days are not good, and I don't like to get too down in the trenches of test scores, but when you get placed on those lists, you have to get down in the trenches of those test scores. And you really
Yeah.
have to take a look. I have to take a look at myself as a leader. We all have to take a look at ourselves in the mirror and say, what happened here and why is
Yeah.
and so when that happened, you know, we we kind of met as a staff, and I was like, this is where we are. And there were tears.
Ugh.
Because you have to remember, some of the people on my staff are alumni of Bear Lake School. So they went to
Oh, yeah.
school here. So I mean,
Yep.
there's deep, deep pride.
Yes.
And, being a small staff, a staff of 15 people, K-12, we're close. I mean, we are close.
Yeah.
And so, uh, there were tiers, there were, comparisons, this is where we compare to other schools in our county. Listen, I had to lay it all out there. I
Yeah.
had to say, this is what this looks like, and this is
Wow.
why. And that's a hard conversation, but it had to be had, right?
Yeah.
And so we had to do some major digging, some major reflection, some major, how did we get here? Look at years past,
Yeah.
how we got here. And is this who we want to be? Like, is this what we want our identity to be? Yes or no? And so
Mm-hmm.
basically through the state of Michigan, you have 3 years to get yourself off this list. Okay. And
Okay.
which it kind of takes 3 years, like, cause
Yeah.
it's kind of like, and so they'll give you some coaches and all these other things. And so we put in the work and we got off the list in a year.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
And
That is incredible.
what was the work? Well, the work was, like I said, doing a lot of self-reflection, asking each other for help, relying on each other, saying to each other, like, okay, I'm doing this in 4th grade, but what are you doing in 3rd grade? Because obviously they're not doing well at it in 4th grade. Are you getting them prepared for it in 3rd grade? Like having
Right.
those hard conversations with each other, because, it's not easy for a friend, for a
Right.
4th grade teacher who's friends with the 3rd grade teacher, let's just say, I'm just using it as an example, to go to their friend, I mean, who's their
Yeah.
colleague, but also their friend, and say, hey, you're not doing a good job.
Yeah.
But because they all didn't like that identity,
Yeah.
they didn't like that label, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Those hard conversations didn't matter. No one took it personally. Or they did take it personally, but
Sure.
they didn't take it personally when we were doing the work. We
Mhm.
look at it like, we're all labeled this. We're
Yep.
all in this boat together. Let's get out of this boat. Let's get on our Laker boat. We don't want to be in this boat.
Right.
And
Right.
so we kind of took it on really as like one team, not
Yeah.
just one classroom isn't doing well or this teacher's not doing well. It was, we're all not doing well. How are we going to get out of this?
Man.
And since then, that's really kind of been our mantra. Now, when we look at test scores, because inevitably you have a class here or a class there that,
Yeah.
kind of doesn't always score well for one reason or another. It doesn't matter. We don't look at it as, well, it's that class or this
Right.
grade. We look at it as, we all got to figure out what's going on in this grade.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how
Wow.
we approach it.
That man, the topic of hard conversations, and I just want to go back to something that you said, that it's hard when you are the 4th grade teacher and you have to go have a hard conversation with the person who's the 3rd grade teacher or the 6th grade teacher who's also your friend. And to your point earlier, there's deep pride here. Some of these teachers, I imagine, probably went to school there together. They've probably known each other in that school community for so long that there's such a big relationship there. I think that question of how do you create that safety for the hard conversations and the sort of bravery for those hard conversations is critical. So can you talk a little bit more about, kind of how you helped make that happen? I think that the point of a shared goal, everybody wanted to get off that list. That was like, sometimes a common enemy is kind of helpful. But tell us a little bit about how you created a culture that welcomed hard conversations.
Well, I think you kind of hit the nail when you said bravery, and that also made me really kind of reflect on myself and realize that I kind of had to lead with courage too.
Yeah.
Because like I said, when I came into this position, I came into it as one of the youngest people on the staff. I taught with them all. They were all my friends. They still are all my friends. You know what I mean? This is my school family. So I had to, like I said, I had to have those hard conversations and kind of lead with courage and remind them all that, hey, like, I'm in this with you. Like, this isn't me versus you. I'm going to do the work with you, and I'm in this with you. And I love all of you. Like, I tell them that all the time, that I love them. Like, I do. And the thing is like, I just had to keep us focused and keep our integrity. We had to keep coming back to, I had to keep centering them back to, okay, but is this where we want to be going? Is this why we got here? Like, we just had to stay focused and keep coming back, because when the excuses would start to come out, because it's easy. It's easy to make excuses, and we all do, right?
Sure.
And there are excuses. Like, there's not excuses, but we had to stay focused on, of all those excuses, what did we have control over? Right? And the excuses that we didn't have control over, we had to let go. It didn't matter. Those things didn't matter anymore, because we're on the priority school list. So we can sit here and say, yes, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because those things are still going to happen, but we still can't be on the priority school list.
Right. We can't wish that thing differently.
We can't wish those things differently. Those are still going to happen, but we still have to keep trudging through and figure this out. So part of that was me having to have some hard conversations. And I'll tell you, I can remember, and him and I laugh about it to this day, but someone who was a dear friend of mine, still is a dear friend of mine, and who, when I first came to Bear Lake School, was one of the first people that welcomed me here and really made me feel like a Laker, really made me feel part of the school. I had to have a hard conversation with him, and we were in a PD, and he got upset with me, and he left the room, and he went into the gym, and I went into the gym, and we kind of had it out. We had words with one another, but at the end, we hugged it out, because we both wanted the same goal. He was just frustrated with what was going on. I knew that. I also knew he had to just get it out. You know what I mean? And so, but he'll still tell you to this day, he'll say, but that change that was made was one of the things that also changed, because he was later in his career, and he was kind of feeling like, and so we kind of made some changes to some things, and that change sparked him for the remainder of his career. So, like he'll say that was a good thing for me. I just didn't know it at the time, and I'm like, but you trusted me. He's like, I might have grumbled about it, but he did. He trusted me. And I think because I had kind of proven myself through the years, again, through different little things that we had done, they all kind of trusted the process. They knew that this was hard work, and there were going to be some hard changes, and they were going to have to do some changes in their classroom. Might have to get rid of some of those fluffy things that they've always done that they love to do. Well, if the fluffy things aren't going to get us off the priority school list, we might have to get that out of the way for a little while,
Yeah.
So I think there's that. And then, just like I said before, we have a seasoned, tenured staff, and we really care about one another, and just reminding each other of that. Always reminding each other that, like, hey, we have each other. We care about one another. We're in this together. It is really important, because in a small school, when there's one teacher per grade level, because that's what we have. There's one third grade teacher. There's not a team. There's not a third grade team. You can feel like you're on an island of your own. And so it's really important to remind them that they're not. So it actually fills my heart when after lunch or at the end of the day or before school, I see teachers in the hallway kind of having those hallway conversations with each other, because I know that they're like kind of filling their cup, and that makes me feel good. Yeah.
Well, and it certainly makes any hard conversations you have to have down the road much easier if you've built that relationship and that rapport and trust, right?
The other thing that I will add is, you know, I have someone who kind of helps me. He kind of took over the roles of some of the things I had done. He does the Title I now and the special ed. And so he's kind of like the person that I bounce things off of. So I'm always like, okay, save me from myself before I like, jump, like before I say something that I shouldn't, or I don't want to hurt
Yeah.
anyone's feelings, but I got to get this message across. But he's also the person that they all go to. So like if
Oh,
there's something like where they're like, oh, like they'll all go to him and he'll be like, hey, and I'm like, okay, like, all right, like that's good. So and I don't take offense to that. I mean,
right.
they're not afraid to come to me, but I think sometimes they're like, maybe mention this to Sarah, just to see.
Yeah.
And that's great. I
Yeah.
want them to feel like there's layers to this. You know what I
Yep.
mean? So, because
Yep.
Eric's I'm using his name. It's okay. It's Eric. He's kind of the buffer. So like he
Yeah.
can kind of say to them like, no, and he can kind of say to
Yeah.
me like,
Yeah. Like, I'm
no,
not taking that
he's
to her.
kind of
Yeah.
yeah. So it's good
Yeah.
stuff. Maybe you should edit his name out though.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I don't
Old
know. It
school.
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Probably
They'll
doesn't
work it
matter.
out. That's awesome. That sounds like a great teaching team. Well, tell me, once you get this story of this setback and
Mhm.
getting on the list and then getting off the list in a year,
Yeah.
that had to be a big moment. That had to be a big deal. So, tell me a little bit about how you celebrate the wins with this staff. Like, how did you celebrate that? How did you kind of support and reward and recognize each other for that?
Yeah. So once we got off the list, we did have a little celebration.
Good.
I had balloons. We had, fake champagne glasses. We didn't really have pink. You can't have all that stuff
Okay.
here, but I had a big celebration in the library. And we just, celebrated where we were at, how far we had come. But, it, it, I won't say it's short lived. I will say that we're still celebrating it in the fact that we're still doing the work that we did.
Yeah.
Because, you don't want to just get there and say, okay, we're done now.
Yeah.
Now we need to keep celebrating. Now we need to
Right.
keep doing better. Now we need to keep doing more. Now we need to keep evaluating. Like, what
Yep.
did we do that we want to keep doing? What did we do because we had to be compliant? Like, all those different things are the important pieces. So we celebrate all of our wins now. Like our high school was ranked number 6 out of 150 high schools from US
Oh my
News
gosh.
and World Report. Our elementary school was top 10 out of 100 elementary schools in the top 10 of 100 elementary schools from the Mackinac Center. And also 100 most improved schools this year.
So great.
And we're just a small rural school.
Yeah.
So we celebrate all of those things. And, every year when our test scores come out and we're able to look through them all, again, we talk about it, we celebrate it. We talk about what we did to get there. The biggest celebration that we have, I guess, would be sharing what we've done.
Yeah.
Like if another teacher, like when we're talking about our test scores and we're doing, we call it our data dig PD.
Yeah.
When another teacher sees like a teacher has this, a big jump in data or something, they'll be like, well, what are you doing? What did you do? And those are
Cool.
just the questions that to me are a celebration because
Yeah.
they're leaning on each other. And again, trusting in each other and saying, I'm not the expert.
Yeah.
Like I might be a teacher that's taught 30 years and I'm not the expert. I still want to know what you are doing or what you did to get there.
Yeah.
And so
That's such a growth mindset too, right? Like
yeah,
that is such a like, all right, I want to grow. I want to learn. I want to know what you did to be able to do that. And the fact that they trust each other enough to ask that and share that is so great.
yeah, I think, the biggest thing I would say is, we're really in it for each other. We don't want to let each other down. Whereas,
Yeah.
A lot of just corporations are, it's kind of that me mindset where the we. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. That's awesome. Well, it sounds like just an amazing place. I now, of course, want to go visit you at your school just to see this great community of folks. We always end our podcast with the same 3 questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Great. The first one is, what are the 3 words that you would want to define your school culture? What are 3 words you would want people to describe the culture at your school?
Trust.
Mm-hmm.
We're resilient.
Mm-hmm.
And we have mutual respect. That's 2 words.
That's okay. We'll let it slide.
Okay.
We'll let it slide. That's great. I love the word resilient there.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit about how you think about that resiliency for your team.
Well, I just think that, being the size school that we are, throughout my time here, we've had a lot of different things come at us that could have taken us down. There's other small schools around us that have closed for different reasons, here and there. And, whether it's money factors or student count or all these different things, we've just always found a way to make our school thrive.
Yeah.
And that's a testament to our community and our staff here. And, our administration.
That is awesome. That's great. Okay. Well, I know it's summertime, so but I know you're working hard getting ready for the year. So what is one little win that you have had that we can celebrate for you today?
Well, a little win that I've had I'm just so excited about is one of our teachers, our 2nd grade teacher, retired. And so we hired a new teacher, and of course it's summertime, and our teachers, they're not expected to work in the summer. And I had a teacher reach out to me and say, "Hey, can you give me her phone number for our new teacher? I want to reach out to her and get her started and help welcome her to the family." And so
that's awesome.
That's just like, if that doesn't tell you how my staff is, that says everything.
No, that says it all. That is so great. That is so great. Okay. Last one is, what is one thing that you think any educator can do to strengthen school culture? We always say that culture is everyone's job. So we like to think obviously you guys embody that in such a cool way. Tell me what's one piece of advice you'd give any educator who wants to strengthen their school culture?
Be present. Don't be above anything. Be willing to do anything and step in at any time.
That's great. That's great. You've certainly lived that.
Yes.
Well, Sarah, thank you so much for sharing so many great little wins today. We've heard everything from assemblies to honor students every year to some really cool vertical planning that you're doing across grade levels, sharing our wins and sharing our failures, so much about having hard conversations and the courage it takes to create a culture where hard conversations are welcome and great. And then even just things like, the data dig and asking, what are you doing so right? That's such a great thing to hear educators talking about. Thank you so much for being on the Little Wins podcast. Have a little win? We'd love to hear from you. Learn how we help schools build strong culture at getalpaca.com.